So we are here to talk about how do we know if it's time to go, if it's time to move on from our current job or career path. And a lot of people are asking this question or wondering it because of what we're experiencing with what the media is calling the great resignation, with so many people leaving their jobs because of what's happened with COVID and people kind of reevaluating their priorities and what is most fulfilling and important to them. Is it work-life balance? Is it, the culture of their organization, et cetera? So please know that if you're here today, or since you're here today, and if you're wondering the same thing, you are not alone. A lot of people are experiencing this same thing and trying to figure out if now or in the new year, it's time to make a move and make a change. So here's the deal in terms of just quick background about me as well. So I'm Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach. And the reason why we are talking about this topic today is for the past 22 years, we have been helping mid-career professionals find a job that they truly enjoy, that they're passionate about, and they're excited to jump out of bed to go to work in the morning, even if lately it's just walking down the hall to work virtually and remotely. So we've been coaching and training for just over 22 years. I'm actually a certified career coach, speaker, and author. We are based in Atlanta, Georgia, and I have an undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt University and a master's degree from the University of Illinois. So thrilled to be here with you all today. One of the first things that I wanted to share with you is kind of the right perspective to have when you're trying to decide whether you're in the right fit or if it's time to make a move. And also when you're thinking about the right career path, how to have kind of the right perspective. And that's listed here at the bottom of this slide. I wanted to let you know that I know that, there's those sayings out there that do what you love and the money will follow and it won't feel like work at all, et cetera, et cetera. And I always like to tell our clients that, yes, that's true, but just kind of, not totally, because we all are going to have to compromise in some way, shape, or form, even if we are in the right fit in the ideal job. So please know that it's not supposed to be and not expected to be peaches and cream all day long. There are going to be things that you don't enjoy as much about your job. That's just reality and part of what comes with the package, if you will. What you want to be thinking about when you're identifying the right fit and identifying the right career path for you is you want to kind of say to yourself that the good parts about it so far outweigh the bad parts or the parts that you don't like as much, that balance is tipped or the scale is tipped in the right direction. So don't try to think about this as, oh, if I just found this one exact perfect job, this bright shining light on the hill, and if I can just find that, then everything will be perfect. That's the wrong way to go about it. That's putting way too much pressure on the process and on you. What you want to think about is the majority of your day, the majority of your tasks are ones that you enjoy and that work for you, because that's how it is for us, for me as a career coach and the career coaches on my team as well. There are going to be things that we're not going to like necessarily and we won't enjoy as much, but we want to go for, if you will, the good so far outweighs the bad, the things you don't like as much that you barely notice those bad things, so to speak. Okay. All right, so here's our agenda for today. And for those of you just joining us, just as a quick reminder, we are... The majority of your tasks are ones that you enjoy and that work for you. Because that streaming is not going to be good. I'm going to turn that off. Sorry about that, guys. We have to fix our YouTube streaming, apparently. So here's our agenda for today. And just as a quick reminder, everyone, you will receive a recording of our call today, the webinar, automatically. So what we find with our clients, in order to find the right fit and know whether they're in the right fit in the first place, we always want you to start with fulfillment first. So we're going to focus on that first today. Then we'll talk about our ideal career model. And then third, we wanted to show you our kind of career brainstorming process, our 4-step process that we use or teach our clients to use in order to brainstorm different career ideas online. Okay, so this is our basic quick agenda today. All right, let's look at the first item here and go to the next slide. Why is this important? Too many people are not in the right fit, and especially because of COVID, too many people have discovered that, this isn't the right fit for me. I Like we've had clients say lots of different things. Some people love working from home and they're like, I never want to go back to the office because I love the tasks that I'm performing and I actually can perform them a little bit better than I could beforehand. Whereas other people are saying, oh, I actually realized that the culture and being able to see my coworkers was my favorite thing about my job. So because of COVID, 1 in 4 people actually plan to make a change post COVID and move into a different job or a career path. And we want you, if you take a look at the bottom of this slide here, we want you to set your career goal or your goal for making a change based on where you fall within 2 categories. One, if you decide that you're somewhat satisfied, we want you first, as an exercise or homework assignment, to separate what works for you and what doesn't work. And think about, can I change things where I am to make them a little bit better? Will that be good enough? Or do I need to just stay in my same field or in a related field, but maybe just change companies because it's mostly about my supervisor or my coworkers or the culture of my organization? So if you're somewhat satisfied, you want to think about, okay, what's working and what's not. Write those things down actually in black and white so you can be more objective about them. And then think about, okay, can I make just a course correction? And if that's the case for you, you want to give yourself a couple of months to kind of figure all of that out and then start your job search. If you fall into the very unsatisfied category, which is number 2 here on our slide, you want to really think outside the box more about, okay, what works and what doesn't for me, but do I need to go into a completely different industry or a completely different role versus just a course correction? And if you are very unsatisfied, what we tell our clients normally, to be realistic, is you want to give yourself about 3 months, give or take, to figure out the right fit, because that's about how long it will take to really think about different options and brainstorm different options. Go out there and research what's feasible and possible and realistic for you. Conduct some informational interviews to kind of narrow those options down, and then conduct your job search after that. So between 2 and 3 months, depending on where you fall on this spectrum. The good news is that even though so many people are not in the right fit, because we see pretty much every single year, there are new surveys that come out about job and employee satisfaction, and too many people are still not in the right job. The good news is you can find that sense of fulfillment and direction in your career. You just got to take the time and make the effort to really figure it out. Now, we work most often with our clients. Our clients are most frequently mid-career professionals, if you will. And what we have found, just by the way, what's different for mid-career professionals typically is that they may start to want a little bit greater meaning and fulfillment in their careers than maybe we did in our 20s. And I like to speak to mid-career professionals as well, because that's where I kind of fall since I'm 48 years old. In some cases, for mid-career professionals, they may not want to use the same strengths that they've been using for the past X number of years. They may want to try something else and have a different challenge. Some mid-career professionals may feel like they're just burned out in some ways, or that they need a different kind of challenge within a different organization. And some mid-career professionals can feel like, because they have such niche or specialized expertise and experience from their career history so far, they can feel a little bit more pigeonholed. And unfortunately for us, a lot of times that can make us feel like, ooh, this is who I am. How do I make a change? Because employers are going to see me in this same way. But we want you to know that even if or when you're mid-career, you can still make a change. It may be more of a course correction. It may be that you need to take a couple of classes or get certified in a different kind of career path. And it may take you a little bit longer if your change is more dramatic, but you can still make it happen. One of the first steps we want all of you to take to start to think about, okay, A, am I in the right fit now? And B, if I'm not, what kind of change do I want to make? Our first exercise we want you to take on is a basic list of wants. These are the things I know I want to have in my ideal job. And one of the things we want you to think about too is we want you to dig underneath your outside interests and your passions and hobbies. That's the reason why this mermaid is on the next slide. So when I was a kid growing up in Florida, we would go to Weeki Wachee a lot. And I always felt like I wanted to be a mermaid. I just thought that was the coolest thing going. And I just thought they were so beautiful. There was an element of like risk in there. And there was also an element of like entertaining and educating people. And when I was trying to figure out my career path over 20 years ago and figure out what I wanted to do, and I started to brainstorm ideas, I thought about, that childhood dream, the thing I wanted to do. And even though obviously that wasn't something that was realistic for me to pursue as a profession for many different reasons, there were clues to my values and things that I wanted to have in a job, even in that childhood dream. So it's important and helpful for you to look at your outside interests, look at your hobbies, because even if those things are not things that are realistic for you to pursue as a career path because they won't pay you enough money, et cetera, whatever the reasoning is, there are clues to things in those hobbies and interests that you might want to incorporate into a career path, like creativity, like educating and entertaining people, et cetera. As a career coach, I love, number one, being a business owner, that I have a higher risk tolerance than some people might, because one of my values is actually risk. And that's part of why being a mermaid at Weeki Wachee was appealing to me at the time, as well as educating people. I love providing these webinars, being on television and interviewed, that kind of thing too. And the last thing we want you to think about too, when you're incorporating or creating that list of wants for yourself, start to think about too, why did I get into my current profession in the first place? What was appealing to me from the get-go or at the beginning about it? And are there elements of that that I would like to get back to at this point in my career? So tap into that original passion for you. So let's talk about step number one after you've started that list of wants based on things that you've liked in your current and previous jobs and things that you have not liked, as well as your interests and passions outside of work. Then we want you to really dig in a little bit deeper and further and start to think about defining what would be truly fulfilling to you and what fulfillment means for you in terms of a career. Now, I'll show you on this next slide here a couple of reasons why we start with fulfillment with our clients. They're critically important. Number one, fulfillment usually gives our clients, and thinking about this piece of the model, the fulfillment piece down here on the right, gives them the most career ideas right out of the box. The second reason why we start with fulfillment with our clients is because fulfillment impacts every other piece of the model. For example, if you are not leveraging the strengths that you want to leverage on a regular basis during the course of your workday, you're not going to be fulfilled. And if you are in the wrong work environment, and the work environment, for example, or the culture of your organization doesn't align or steps on your values, fulfillment is going to be a problem there too. So if you start to think about fulfillment first, it impacts every other piece. So it helps you cast your net a little bit wider with your career ideas, but also helps you cover a lot of the other pieces of the career model when you start to think about fulfillment and your values first. So how do we define what fulfillment means to us? Especially, I think, during COVID, we started to think about this a lot more because we were spending more time at home with our family, et cetera. We want greater life balance and different things now in some cases because of COVID. So there are 4 ways we want you to start with to think about defining what's most fulfilling to you. First way is you can think about, like, when you sit down tonight to go to bed, you can do some journaling or whatever is best for you time frame wise. But define and think about what success means to you at this point in your career, and also how it may have changed because of COVID. So defining success and what success means to you is a great first step to starting to define what's going to be most fulfilling to you, but also that list of wants in terms of the ideal career. Number 2, identify and think about your interests. What are those things that you do on a daily basis that you lose track of time? And by the way, in terms of your interests, we talked about hobbies and things outside of work before, but you can also think about interests in terms of what kind of TV shows are you drawn to and why is that? What are those themes there? What kind of books do you like to read or magazines? When you do go to a party, if you've started to do that at all yet during COVID, what kind of topics are you drawn to when you talk with your friends? What are the things that kind of light you up? Those are clues to some of your possible values. Number three is to think about your ideal day at work and kind of paint that picture, even maybe create a vision board and what qualities would an ideal day at work have for you. And then finally, the fourth way to really define fulfillment, and this is the one we like to do with our clients typically first, is to identify what your top three career values are by performing or working through a peak experience exercise. And what we mean by that is to think about a time in your life. It could be a moment in time or a period of time, a time in your life personally. And we like to start with the personal for a reason, because then we translate the personal values into professional values. But think about a time or a moment in your life, like when you graduated college. We had one client say, his peak experience was when he was the editor of his high school yearbook. And when you're thinking about that peak experience and journaling about it, and even tell a friend, family member, or a coach, one of our coaches on our team, if you work with us through coaching, about that peak experience. But we want you to focus everyone on what was cool about that experience for you, not just the details of it, but digging underneath and what was neat about that for you. Those could be clues to some of your possible personal as well as career values. It's a really juicy exercise, and we want you to think about that. As part of thinking about what you want now and next after COVID and, the changes and priorities that a lot of us have had, you want to think also about what's meaningful to you and important to you now at this point in your career and kind of post-COVID, even though I know we're not totally done with it yet. Number one, what strengths you want to continue to leverage, or what strengths you'd rather, put aside and you're kind of done with those. And then second, what's more meaningful to you now in your career and the impact that you want to have on others. For example, do you want to be able to mentor your employees a little bit more, your team members? Do you want to have a greater social impact in your community or just in the world in general? Are you interested in more social entrepreneurship or types of organizations like that? So again, this goes back to our meaning and fulfillment and thinking about how do we define that now versus, for example, how we defined it in our 20s. Let's take a deeper look for our second step here at our ideal career model in a little bit greater depth. And I'll walk you through the different pieces that we want you to think about. Now, think about this model, everyone, please, as kind of a checklist that you can use to say, okay, first, am I in the right fit now? Let me go through each of the pieces of the model and say, is my current position or my current career path checking all of these boxes or not? And then after that exercise, you want to say, okay, how do I want my career to look? And do kind of a visioning or journaling exercise to define what each of these pieces mean for you in terms of what you want ideally. We talked about fulfillment already, identifying your values, etc. The second thing that you want to be thinking about for both of those reasons we just said is, are you performing tasks that are enjoyable for you for the most part? So this is kind of like the icing on the cake. Our fulfillment piece is about what at my core am I responsible for doing every day at work? And is it giving me the meaning I want to have? But then you also want to think about, are the majority of my tasks, are they enjoyable for me and important? Okay. So the enjoyment piece is kind of like icing on the cake. I'll give you a quick example. So coaching for me at the core is the most rewarding for me. But guess what? I get to do a little bit of marketing and editing articles and writing articles and webinars like these. And I actually like doing that. Now, do I want to do that all day, every single day? No, because I had a marketing, writing, editing job a long time ago, and I didn't like it, because that needs to be a smaller piece of my career pie versus the main piece. So the enjoyment is to think about, what are the other pieces of my career pie that I would like to do, the other tasks I'd like to perform in addition to my main ones. Then you want to think about your top 5 strengths. Are you leveraging those in the way that you want to and frequently enough in your current job, or do you want to boost some of those up a little bit more? Next, you want to think about your experience in education. Are you leveraging your past experience in the way that you want to? And classes that you took even in college in the way that you want to. The reason why I bring up education as well, and we have this on our model, is sometimes with our clients, if we ask them to think about, okay, what are the classes in college that you enjoyed? They start to think about, oh, I actually liked this finance class, but I kind of got away from that. How do I incorporate that a little bit more into my current job? Next, we want you to think about your personality type. Are you introverted or extroverted? Are you a more detail-oriented person or more big picture strategy person? Are you more formal and you prefer a more formal work environment, or much more creative and prefer a more casual work environment? Personality type is critically important for your ideal career. And then finally, you'll notice here personality and work environment, or you can imagine that they interplay a lot. So your personality type, the work environment plays into that, and vice versa. You need to be in the right culture of culture of your organization. You want to feel like you can buy into the mission of your organization, and you want your values to be mirrored in some way, shape, or form, ideally in your organization's values as well too. So work environment is critically important. This one definitely is the biggest make or break we find for our clients. Our clients could be in the right career path and even in the right job maybe, but if they're at the wrong company or organization, it's not going to work for them in the long run. And then finally, obviously, compensation is critically important to being in the right job. Think of compensation, everyone, as not just the money, but the benefits that you have as well, flex time, etc. And you'll notice too that we have you think about compensation at the end. That is not because compensation is not important. It is critically important. But if you start with compensation early on in the process when you're brainstorming career ideas, you might cut yourself off at the knees in being as creative as you could be. So we want you to consider compensation, everyone, but we want you to keep that at bay a little bit at the beginning and bring it in later on to kind of narrow down your ideas based on what's practical and realistic for you too. All right, let's talk about step number 3 and our career brainstorming process. The reason why we share this with our clients is because we realize that career brainstorming can feel incredibly overwhelming because there's no one website that lists every single career possibility that's out there. And because this can feel so overwhelming for people, that career seekers will just say, oh, I don't have time to deal with this. I'll put it on the back burner. And that's why we do what we do as coaches, because we realize that people need that accountability and they need a step-by-step process to help them brainstorm ideas. Here's our 4-step process that is outlined in our ideal career workbook that is listed for sale on our website. Number 1, you need to identify or create a list of keywords to help you plug into job boards, etc. Then we want you to use those keywords on general search sites like Google, Bing, etc. We want you to then use your keywords on career brainstorming sites, which we'll show you in just a moment. And then finally, we want you to use those keywords on job boards as well. So here's the deal. When you're brainstorming ideas online, you have to stay organized. How many people here today would say, oh yeah, sometimes I sit down at my computer and I get lost in the internet and I wonder where the time went. You have to be good about this and use Excel or Word, but we recommend Excel, to track the relevant, helpful keywords, the career ideas that you come up with, the pages that you want to revisit. So copying and pasting, ooh, this page looks good. I want to save this and come back to it later and read it in greater depth. And also to stay organized with your job requirements and the salary requirements, for example, too. So we've got 3 levels of sites, if you will: general search sites, career sites, and job boards, like we said. Let's talk about each of these steps in greater detail before we wrap up today at the half hour. So step 1 is to identify keywords. There are different ways that you can come up with keywords. They can be based on your strengths, If you're good at financial analysis or event planning, for example, they can be based on your interests, for example. If you really have an interest in mentoring, one of your keywords might be training and development, or another keyword could be coaching, or another keyword could be professional development. So look at your interests, your values, your strengths, and your skills, because those can help you come up with a really good list of keywords that you can search on to kind of brainstorm, okay, what types of jobs actually leverage or use those strengths and skills, or have those interests, or are related or relevant to those career paths. Next, after you've created a good list of keywords, give yourself about 10 minutes to really brainstorm keywords. And you can use a website like synonym.com to come up with other, synonyms to those keywords too. Step 2 is to plug those keywords into general search sites like Google. I want to look up careers in data analysis, or careers in finance, or careers related to finance. Or if you're interested in educating people in some way, like I was, jobs in education or jobs related to education. This can help you cast a wider net and come up with or find listings of, hey, if you have a degree in education, even if you don't, that listing could give a great list of career ideas that are related to education. Or, for example, you might find articles or blog posts related to this field that you want to read that can give you some additional ideas. The third step you want to take with your keywords is you want to start plugging these keywords into career brainstorming sites. So after you've Googled using your keywords and come up with some articles that you want to read and some career ideas or job titles there, you next want to start to narrow your ideas down or come up with other ideas plugged into some career brainstorming sites. And what's helpful about these in particular is it can help you not just narrow down your ideas, but begin to make it real. See what some of the job requirements are and the salary and all of that. And actually, I'm going to show you the career brainstorming sites in just a second, everybody, because I put the career brainstorming sites and the job boards together. So then step 4 is we want you to search job boards leveraging your keywords too. So when you're searching job boards, we want this to be kind of the last step you take, everyone, by the way, because that helps you make it more real and tangible. And it's better to use these other sites to kind of cast your net wide and brainstorm lots of different options. And then when you get to the job boards, that's when you can start to narrow things down a little bit more based on practical considerations. On this next slide here, and then we'll close out on the slide after this. Here's our basic overview of sites. The career brainstorming sites that we recommend to you and to our clients are listed here at the top. onetcenter.org is a great one. myplan.com is a very good one. And there's 2 other ones that we found for mid-career professionals as well, whatsnext.com and workforce50.com too. So those are those career brainstorming sites that when you plug in your keywords, it'll help map you to other job possibilities that could be a fit for you. And then finally, we want you to plug your keywords into job boards, again, to make it practical, tangible, and real. The job boards we like to start out with are Indeed, Glassdoor. We love LinkedIn.com job board. That's where we would recommend applying for most of your jobs if the postings are listed there. And then finally, you may want to take a look at and try to find industry-specific sites for you as well. So for example, if you're looking for nonprofit jobs, idealist.org is good. And marketing jobs, marketinghire.com is a great website for that too. So remember, there's industry-specific job boards as well that you can Google and find out what else is out there. Before we close today, I just want to thank you all so much again for your time. I hope this was helpful for you. If any of you would like additional information about our coaching services and like some advice on next steps, how do I start brainstorming these different keywords and career paths for me, please feel free to email us at any time at admin@halliecrawford.com. We'd be happy to do a free career strategy session with you. And as part of that, talk with you more about our coaching services and how we can help you find your dream job. We're absolutely passionate about what we do, and we would be happy to help you. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of the day and good luck with your search for your next step. Bye-bye.